How to Watch TV, Episode 1. I'm so excited about this. I've been talking about doing this for years. How to Watch TV, Episode 1, we're going to talk about spin-offs. So the whole point of How to Watch TV is for me, your good friend Stephen D. Mosley, to teach you, how to watch TV. So one of my favorite spin-offs. So what's a spin-off? A spin-off is when a character from one show basically gets his own show. And so I want to talk about the 4 ingredients of a really great spinoff. I think when you watch your spinoffs from now on, you're going to be watching these 4 ingredients. You're going to go, Stephen was right. You're right. That is what makes it great. So the 4 ingredients of a great spinoff are: 1, you got to have a character that you love from an original show to get their own show. Number 2, you got to have a sidekick. So that character has to come with another character that you know. A background character. It's the irony of ironies, the spinoff, the guy before was a background character. Well, now he's the main character. You got to bring a character that was related to him to be the new background character. You'll get what I mean in a moment. You got to have new loves. So, when they bring in the spinoff, and this is where most spinoffs fail, is there has to be new characters that you fall in love with, that you love just as much as the original. And number 4, you got to have a cameo. So you want to see someone from the old show come into this new show. Let me give you a couple examples of some of my favorite spinoffs. The Jeffersons. Now, some of you, you're either too young to know the Jeffersons, so you're going to have to Google, or others of you are like, wait, the Jeffersons was a spinoff? Absolutely. There was a show in the 70s called All in the Family, and their next door neighbors were the Jeffersons. So just imagine, a redneck white guy is your next door neighbor named Archie Bunker, and you live next to the Jeffersons, and then the Jeffersons move on up. They get rich, they move on up. And that's the whole point of the Jeffersons. Had many seasons, one of the greatest shows of all time, but it is a spinoff. Another show that's a spinoff, one of my favorite spinoffs, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Now, trust me, friend, we're going to get into how to watch Star Trek down the road, but this is one of the best spinoffs there is. And then a new spinoff that if you have Netflix you can watch, Fuller House. So let's start with that first one, character. So character is something you have to have. You have to have someone from a former show on the new show that you cared about. Jeffersons, George Jefferson, great character. Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Chief O'Brien from Star Trek The Next Generation. We'll talk more about him in another episode. And in Fuller House, you have DJ. You have Kimmy, you have a lot of other characters who you remember who are in that show, which goes to sidekick. Yet again, Kimmy from Fuller House. You'll have Keiko O'Brien from Star Trek Next Generation, Chief's wife. In the Jeffersons, you have not only George Jefferson, his wife, but you have his children as well. So these are all the sidekicks that you don't really recognize, but it's part of making it great. Number 3, you have new loves. So in the Jeffersons, you have their new next door neighbor. You have, the foil of the show is basically that they love to hate on his daughter-in-law's in-laws because one's black, one's white. You'll get the humor once you watch it. In Star Trek Deep Space Nine, you have all of the new shipmates. You have Quark, you have Odo, you have Morn. That's a character within itself. And then there's the cameos. So when you watch a spinoff, a great spinoff, within the first and second season, they have a couple of cameos, characters who you love from their previous show that you're like, hey, I wonder whatever happened to. Now, this can be overused. And if it's overused, it's because they're not going by number 3, which is making you fall in love with some of the new characters. If you have too many cameos, you start watching the show for the cameos because you missed the old show. That's not the goal of a great spinoff. In these shows, you will see that they do these rules almost to a T, and they are great spinoffs. Now you may say, well, Stephen, what's a bad spinoff? Well, All in the Family had a great spinoff with the Jeffersons. Had a terrible spinoff with Gloria. Do you remember Gloria? Yeah, go ahead and Google it. It's terrible. Because they don't go by these 4 rules. Star Trek, a great enterprise. But then they had a spinoff called Enterprise. Okay, you do the math. The other shows had 7 seasons. Enterprise had 3 or 4. Not that good. My friend, I want to encourage you, watch more TV. But when you watch TV, take a spinoff. So I'm going to put a list up of my favorite spinoffs. I would love for you to give me some of yours.